Hi, this is Yitzchak Hiziger, and I'd like to welcome you to Art Scroll Mesorah publication. It's an honor to introduce you to Rabbi Nosson Sherman and Rabbi Gedalia Zlotowitz.
Thank you.
Rabbi Sherman, tell us, why are we here today?
This is a historic day, and that's no exaggeration. Talmud Yerushalmi has been a closed book for 1,600 years. Finally, 15 years of work, scores and scores of outstanding Talmidei Chachamim, and now finally, 51 volumes, Talmud Yerushalmi, Schottenstein English Yerushalmi is complete, and today's the day when we're marking that completion.
Come, let's begin the journey. Welcome to the city of Teverya. In the 1500s, there was a concept that was mentioned of the four holy cities of Eretz Yisrael: Yerushalayim, Hebron, Tzfas, and Teverya, and each one of them corresponds to the four basic elements of the world. The city of Teverya corresponds to water, to the element of water. Water, we're told, represents Torah. And in fact, why is the city of Teverya the city of Torah? Because this is where the Talmud Yerushalmi was written. This is where the Sanhedrin sat. This is where Klal Yisrael studies for years and centuries. And this is where Torah will sprout up once again as we complete the Schottenstein Yerushalmi, and it brings to light once again the ore and the water of Torah. And here we are walking on the same street. Rabbi Yochanan, Resh Lakish, Reb Ami, Reb Asi, Rabbi Akiva, all of those great scholars mentioned in the Talmud Yerushalmi, right over here, down the street, by the shuk, by the marketplace of Teverya. Standing here, we're in an ancient bathhouse, the central bathhouse of the city of Teverya. We're told that there were stories here about Rabbi Akiva that comes here, Rabbi Yoshua that comes here to this bathhouse. You can imagine the Tanoim, the Amoraim that would come here. And this is where they would purify themselves. This is where they would congregate. Amazing to be in this place where those great men once were. It is so inspiring to walk into this ancient Roman theater that we have finally arrived in. About 100 years before Rabbi Yochanan writes his Yerushalmi, we have a great leader, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. He says, the Jews are losing it. We don't have a temple to unite us, but we have Torah. And we're losing that oral tradition, and he writes it down in a book called the Mishnah. All of the laws, puts it together, he edits it, and that takes place over here. But Rabbi Yochanan, who is living here in the city of Teverya, he begins to edit a work called the Talmud Yerushalmi. Here in the Moshav HaSanhedrin, the place where the Sanhedrin sat, in the city of Teverya, where none other than Rabbi Yochanan and Resh Lakish would sit in this Beis Medrash after the Sanhedrin was gone. They come up with the idea that we have to go ahead and bring Torah further, expand it, go back to those discourses and the law and make it alive once again. And they arrive over here in the city of Teverya, and here's where they write the Yerushalmi. Amazing to think about that. Here I am sitting today, and I imagine Rabbi Yochanan up in Shamayim looking down and seeing the Schottenstein edition of the Yerushalmi finally being completed.
When we're coming to the end of the Bavli, no one was really quite sure what the next thing is going to be. And Reb Meir had this idea of doing Yerushalmi, which to us was just this overwhelming project because it's hard enough to learn. And imagine explaining it, getting into the details, laying it all out for someone.
There is no preeminent Perush or Meforesh on Yerushalmi. There's nobody who became preeminent to the extent that, yeah, that's your basic pshat.
There's no Rashi on Yerushalmi, and there's no Rishon, for that matter, on Yerushalmi, but Gemara was printed based on Rashi's Girsa. He cleaned up many of the difficulties in the Girsa. Later, the Marshal came and did a tremendous work on correcting the Girsais in the Gemara and in Rashi. In Yerushalmi, that wasn't done. That was why also we did something in Yerushalmi, an innovation that we did not have in Bavli, that on the bottom of the page often there are variants, textual and interpretive variants, different pshatim, different gersais. One who's learning it has the ability to learn it on a more simple level or on a more complex level, to try to do both pshatim.
And also becomes aware of the fact that there might be divergent girsoras going through a half amud or a whole amud, and they're both valid at the same level.
But in order to understand why this is so, we have to go back to the history. Bavli, the work on the Bavli continued for 150 years after the Yerushalmi stopped. Now, the Yerushalmi was never completed because the Roman oppression was so serious, so terrible, that they just could not learn anymore. The yeshivas were closed down. It stopped in the middle.
Because there are so many different Mefarshim in Yerushalmi, sometimes the very same line, according to one Pirush, is a question, according to the next one is an answer, and according to the next one is a raya, and according to the fourth, it's talking about a totally different topic. We picked a Mefarish, this is how we're explaining it, and then we broke it up for the person. So the Gemara is now asking, the Gemara is answering, the Gemara is bringing a raya. And that just makes it so much easier to learn. So whereas before, someone learning Yerushalmi would be, I don't know where to start, now we've laid it out for him. The external things that make it difficult, we've taken away those obstacles.
There are discussions here, there's material here, there's halachas that emerge from the Yerushalmi that we don't have in the Bavli.
All throughout the Rishonim and the Achronim and the Poskim, the Yerushalmi is one of the main sources where Blumdus comes from and where halacha comes from.
I'm no longer afraid to open a Yerushalmi. There used to be a fear among Talmidei Chachamim. Who opened the Yerushalmi? Sometimes you had to look up a quote, so you looked up, but everybody was intimidated. How do you sit down and learn a Yerushalmi? That problem has been solved by the Schottenstein Yerushalmi.
What the Schottensteins did is just the most unbelievable thing. The schusim that they have, and the schusim that they must have had in order to have the schus to do this, is something else. This sefer, which is, it's at the core of Torah Sheba'al Peh, and it was closed, is now open, and this is to their everlasting credit.
The Yerushalmi is a Talmud, a brother Talmud to Talmud Bavli. And Baruch Hashem, what we were able to do is really to make it accessible. Personally, that was a tremendous sense of fulfillment. So how we came to those fonts, they have to be easy on the eyes. And the reading the material should be natural, should not be hard. I think by looking at the page, nobody is burdened by the complex array of different languages, and Hebrew and English and light and dark. It just, once you know the key, it just flows. Meir was a visionary who has no equal. We were together for over 45 years. We worked with tremendous Mesorah Nefesh for all these years. A day doesn't go by where I don't remember him. And every time I pass by, we go to Mincha, I pass by and I see his picture staring down at me. I remember all those years and all the hardships we went through, and the tremendous reward at the end. Thank you very much, and I got to get back to work.
This is a title page of the original Hebrew edition of Yerushalmi. This scan of the title page is then assembled into something like this. Everything in its own place. Whatever you see that's not in gold here is hand engraved. Very, very tedious process. Takes weeks sometimes. So you get something similar to that. Goes on the stamping machine. You get something like this, and that's basically what it is.
Let's go on into the art scroll bindery and take a look as the magic happens. Welcome to the paper room at the art scroll bindery. As you can imagine, the most precious commodity here at Art Scroll Mesorah is paper. The paper is taken from the paper room and loaded onto one of these many printers here. The paper goes through the printer on printer N. We're printing Yerushalmi, a riveting for the Schottenstein Edition. The paper comes out of the printer looking something like this. So these papers are piled up onto pallets until they're ready to be taken to this folding and sewing machine. You'll see how the machine counts it electronically, the exact number of pages. Every book, every sefer is comprised of smaller booklets. As you can see, they're numbered, and they're made with the strongest possible binding to be able to withstand heavy use. You may have wondered, how do the Gemaras get that beautiful marble side? Is it done by machine? And the answer is no, it's done by hand. We have our valued employees here who actually paint the sides of the Talmud Yerushalmi by hand with sponges, with paint. It's quite a tedious process, but the beautiful product that you get is a result of their efforts. Each cover goes into this embossing machine right here, and we can take a look at what it looks like. You see the start of a Gemara of a Talmud Yerushalmi. Every cover of the Talmud Yerushalmi goes through multiple steps to produce what we know as the beautiful cover of the Schottenstein Edition Talmud Yerushalmi. You could see the black stamping and then the gold stamping. Each volume comes out of a conveyor belt. The side of each volume is rounded so that the cover will fit snugly. And the books are attached to the covers right over here. And over here you have a Schottenstein Edition Talmud Yerushalmi, hot off the press. In fact, if you feel the side of the Gemara, you can feel the heat from the glue that's holding the cover to the volume. And over here you have a beautiful Schottenstein Talmud Yerushalmi.
Around 17 years ago, we had a Art Scroll board meeting. At that board meeting, Mayor showed me the Talmud Yerushalmi project. At that meeting, on behalf of my family, my wife, and my sons, Joey, Jonathan, and Jeffrey, we committed to undertake the naming of the Talmud Yerushalmi project.
It's a special day for us because we're marking the yard site of Mr. Jerome Schottenstein. As we know, Mr. Schottenstein was the one who took upon himself to dedicate the Talmud Bavli. Unfortunately, he only lived to see 2 volumes being published, but his children, Jay and Jeannie Schottenstein, and their family took upon themselves to complete the 73-volume English Talmud Bavli, the 73-volume Hebrew Talmud Bavli, and now the 51-volume English Talmud Yerushalmi.
We want to thank all our partners who helped make this possible, because without their partnership, this never would have happened. So, Mazel Tov and Yashikar to everybody.
Wherever we go, whether it be on an airplane, walking down the street, in schools, in people's homes, our friends are using the books, and we personally use them too. So they've changed our life, and we're thrilled to have been a part of it.
I began learning Talmud Yerushalmi because I was curious what it was all about.
After my father was nifter, I figured that rather than continue learning Talmud Bavli L'Zecher Nishmaso, I'd try to attempt to learn Yerushalmi.
We're learning Yerushalmi now for 7 years already.
I walked into Svarim stores asking for a Talmud Yerushalmi, and they gave you the look like you just came from Mars. I was thrilled when Art Scroll came out with the Talmud Yerushalmi.
One thing that I found to be a little bit different with Yerushalmi is different sugyas can be learnt up in completely different ways.
In this Gemara, not only does it make the learning easier, and it makes it more enjoyable and more geschmack, but they make a point of always highlighting and noting when there's a machlekes between the Bavli and the Yerushalmi.
I definitely needed the elucidation as well as the notes and the different variants in text.
As in all Torah study, Art Scroll has enabled the closed book to be opened up to the masses. I've met people that I sent Svarim to 10 years ago that I wouldn't say laughed at me, but like, why did you send this to me? And they see him in passing, they finished 2 volumes, they're on the 3rd.
I donated a volume of Peah. I told Rabbi Zlotowitz, may he rest in peace, that the only condition I have is I'd like to review it. They sent me the manuscript as we went along, and I would edit it. To my surprise, they accepted many of my revisions. They continued to send it and continued to send it. And so basically, other than brachas, I edited the entire Yerushalmi and went through it.
I had heard from Reb Chaim Knevsky that he encouraged people to learn Yerushalmi, but how to learn Yerushalmi? He said, learn it with the Masechta. And so when we started the cycle of the Daf Yomi this time, I started Brachas Bavli and also Yerushalmi. I would encourage people, those who can, to be able to undertake, learn the Bavli, which is the Iker. But it's such an exciting and interesting thing to have also the Yerushalmi.
All the staff and all the scholars and all the people that participate in the Art Scroll endeavor, they should have much success, and everything that they need, may God bless them with, and everything that they don't need, may God bless them with.
We want to thank the Ribbono Shel Olam for giving us the schus to reach this milestone, and for giving us together the schus to be Marbetz Torah, to Klal Yisrael, as we stand here in front of this beautiful portrait of my father, Zatzal. His dream was to bring Torah to everyone, to open hundreds of thousands of minds and hearts to the word of Hashem. And he made his dreams come true. But he was only able to make his dreams come true because of all his friends and supporters, the donors, starting with the Schottenstein family, and all the other families and individuals that dedicated sidarim and volumes to make this possible. My father always said that the crown jewel of his accomplishments in this world will be the completion of the Schottenstein edition of Talmud Yerushalmi.
Gedalia, everything that you said, I say amen. Every word was true. Yerushalmi was his greatest dream, and thanks to Gedalia and the editors and all of the supporters, the Schottensteins, everybody else, that dream came true. And now, there's another dream. You joined us in this trip to Yerushalmi. Now, the next invitation is open up the Yerushalmi. Take a trip through the Yerushalmi, learn it, enjoy it, appreciate it. And that would be the greatest credit that we could do to the memory of Mesorah Heritage.